Hi there, it's Vanessa here. I'm a full-time residential landlord, have been since 2004, and I'm also the community manager at Property Tribes. And I thought I would create a video version of a thread or article that I wrote recently, and I titled it Timing the Market Right to Invest in Buy to Let. And it also included a little poll to get the views of the Property Tribes community. Um, and I think it's interesting always to think about the best conditions or the best market scenarios to invest in buy to let. And really, the options are to buy in a falling sales market, a static sales market, a rising sales market, anytime as long as the deal stacks up. Or number five, if you're an existing investor, maybe you should be selling up, not buying. Now, the decision of when to buy will be influenced by whether you are looking for month-on-month cash flow, net cash flow, or capital growth. And as PT member Jonathan Clark wrote on a previous thread on this topic, if you go for cash flow properties, which he does when he's buying, then market timing is not really so important. It makes no real difference whether you buy in a peak or a trough, except for remortgaging and expansion purposes. If, however, you're purely interested in capital growth, then Jonathan thinks a lot more research is required and market timing is much more important. And obviously, if you have net cash flow month on month, which is actual money in your pocket, you're probably far likely to survive long enough as a landlord to benefit from organic capital growth, which is, of course, just purely speculative until you crystallize it either via a remortgage or a sale. Much will also depend on whether you're a cash buyer or using buy-to-let finance. But my comments or my thoughts in this little video are based on actually taking out buy-to-let mortgages and leveraging, because that is one of probably the number one reason to invest in property, to take advantage of the power of leveraging. It's also worth remembering that property does move in cycles, and you can, to some extent, use past performance to predict future performance. So that's probably worth having on your radar as well. So here are just my thoughts. Buying it in a falling sales market. This is a great time to pick up bargains as people become more motivated to sell and may consider a deeper discount. If you can purchase at a discount and improve the property as well through refurbishment and or development, you can lock in an equity cushion and you're not so reliant on organic capital growth, and you'll better shield yourself from negative equity. You may have to wait longer if you intend to remortgage or release equity if you're just relying on organic capital growth. You also have the issue of calling the bottom of the market, which is practically impossible to do. There is that famous saying, never try to catch a falling knife. You do need to ensure that there's high tenant demand in the area and that the deal stacks up from a rental perspective. That goes without saying. It's worth noting that when house prices are falling, more people tend to buy, so rents may remain static or even decrease slightly. And I do, at this point, recommend that you use the free Landlord Deal Analyzer to analyze all your deals, stack them up, and understand if it's a good deal or not. And you can also use the Landlord Deal Analyzer to model various financial scenarios as well. So it's an amazing tool for landlords. Buying in a static sales market, you should be aware of the reasons why the market is static and have some view on whether prices will rise or fall. In my experience, generally speaking, when a market is static for a significant period of time, it's more likely to rise than fall in the future. But if you buy in a static market, you definitely want to hold long term. You should definitely, of course, also in any market try and buy at a discount. It becomes more challenging in a rising market, obviously, but there's always bargains to be had. Buying in a rising sales market. Again, calling the market is involved here. If you can buy at the beginning of a rising market, that's probably the optimum time to buy. However, if you're buying towards the end of a rising market, then that could be potentially dangerous in terms of negative equity in the future. It's worth noting that when house prices are rising, more people tend to rent, so rents may likely remain robust or could even rise. But once again, you need to crunch the numbers and make sure that the deal stacks up. Option number 4 is buy anytime as long as the deal makes sense to you and stacks up. Now, this is my personal choice because you cannot buy property in the past and you cannot buy property in the future unless you have a time machine. So the only time that any of us have is now, the present day. In the now, we know our financial position, we know the mortgage products and rates available to us, so we can act with some level of confidence due to this knowledge. None of us can predict the future, so in my opinion, it's sensible to act with what we feel certain about in the now, as our own circumstances could change and affect our ability to invest in the future. Um, in order to benefit from capital appreciation and month-on-month net cash flow, you actually have to own some property. And I love the saying, it's not timing the market, it's time in the market. I don't know who came up with it, but it's so true. It's worth remembering that time is one commodity that none of us have more of. If you start investing at 55, then you likely only have maybe 20 years to benefit from buy-to-let. But if you started at 35, you will have much more time. So the earlier that you can start, the longer you have to benefit from buy-to-let and being invested in property. We also know that the lights will not always be on green. So taking action in the now is very important. From this perspective, it's better to go ready, fire, aim, and learn on the go and fine tune what you're doing based on your learnings, rather than wait for all the lights to be on green, because they're never going to be. And years will pass and you won't do anything. And, you know, I talk to so many people that are waiting for that optimum moment to get started, and they just need to take action in the now and get going with it. Property is a long-term investment, but provided you purchase smartly, I doubt very few people are going to look back and say, "Oh, I wish I hadn't bought those properties 20 years ago." We do have a poll on Property Tribes, which I'll link to, which I'd love you to take part in. Somebody added an extra option to it, which was to invest when government policy makes it viable, which I thought was actually a valid one based on the current circumstances landlords are facing. So yes, just remember that Property Tribes is a free to use community resource. It takes 2 minutes to join. We have a weekly newsletter that updates landlords on all the latest news and discussions and legislation. We do a lot of video production and interviews. We take part in webinar collaborations, and it's a very lively, engaged and active community, which we'd love you to come along and be part of and take advantage of the hive mind of landlord knowledge and experience and opinion that is demonstrated daily across our forums. And we discuss everything from standard buy-to-let to HMOs to holiday lets, to refurbishment, development, tax, finance, you name it, we discuss it. So do jump along to propertytribes.com, and I'll hope to welcome you there.